Hey everybody, it's Charles from Craving Shaving. I'm getting a shave in today just because I had today off. We'll get into that as I get into the shave. But for now, let's just get into the gear that I'm using. Let me shake this out real quick. I had soaking my That Darn Rob beautiful burl brush. There's that. It's got the Fanturian knot in it, which is still, I'm going to put it back in the water, it's still a little bit got that badger funk to it, but that doesn't really bother me too much, so we're not going to worry about it too much. And we're going to use, there we go, Katie's Bubbles Saturday Morning. Love this scent of this soap. It's just so fun. And then along with that, I did put a little of this in there. I'm going to give Chell another go. Because I was just talking about synthetic coolants in the last video that I made, which is currently uploading right now. That's the 54321 video. So, I'm using some of the products from that video, just because, why not, right? They're some of my favorite products. The razor that we'll be using is this one, which I mentioned in my 54321 video. This is the prototype razor. I think it's a prototype of the 3D wrap razor, but that's not confirmed. It just really looks like it, so it's an assumption on my part. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So I'm going to shake out all of the water out of this That Darn Rob brush. I like to control the water that I'm using, so we're just going to get rid of all of that water, and we'll add some as we go. Okay, so I did today off of work. I posted about this on Instagram, so some of you probably saw this. But as I've said in other videos, I'm one of the track coaches. I'm actually an assistant coach this year. Last year I was the boys head coach, and I stepped down from that just so that I wouldn't have to do as much with it. And other people that are at the school are just simply more qualified than I am to do it. So I'm stepping down as head coach and just being the assistant coach right now. And I think that was a really good move. I think I'm really going to be able to enjoy it more without having to deal with some of the things that the head coach has to deal with. Anyway, my kind of assignment that I have coaching is the throwing events, shot put and discus. I didn't throw shot put or discus. I threw javelin one year when I was in high school and really enjoyed it. But then I started doing cross country and just kind of did that rather than the throwing. And I've had a lot of fun coaching the throwing events. I really enjoyed it. I wish I would have done the throwing events, but I was also pretty scrawny when I was in high school. I didn't have a lot of upper body strength, and I was really awkward. Still am. And so I don't know how that would have worked for me. Look at that, great lather from this. Anyway, so yesterday was really the first day of coaching in this track year, this track season. The first day we just kind of set up the safety nets and whatnot. And yesterday we had a huge turnout. All of these kids coming to try throwing we did discus yesterday. We didn't do shot put, which is probably a good thing the way this story ends. So we're practicing. I'm going over just like the very basics, right? So we're going over the very basics. A lot of these people don't know anything about throwing discus. We're going over, very, very basic things, how to hold it, how it should be released from your hand. Really, really simple stuff. And it was going really well, too. I'm really impressed with the kids that showed up. I think this is going to be a good year. Anyway, oh, I love this razor. Anyway, so we get going through doing all these things. At the very end of practice, I'm like, okay, we're just going to start throwing, but we're not going to worry about how hard we throw. Those of you who know what you're doing because you've been here in past years, go ahead and go into the throwing ring, and you're just going to take turns throwing the discus, trying to refamiliarize yourself with the technique, everything like that. Those of you who are brand new, come with me, and we're going to go practice kind of over here on this field, and whatnot. Oh, I forgot a very important part of the story. It was also the day we went over safety procedures, which is ironic, because of what happened. So one of the things I tell the kids is, if you are throwing the discus, you make sure, if there, especially, first of all, don't throw the discus if there's someone out there. If I'm out there or someone else is out there to return the discus, make sure you have their attention before they throw it back. Stay away from the net, so because, you know, just different safety things that, cause you don't want one of the kids getting hurt. Anyway, practice is just about over. We probably had like 5 minutes left of practice. We're all gonna head home. And I have all of the people who are learning how to throw. I just had them all line up, and they were throwing not hard, you know, they weren't trying to throw it as far as they could, just try to get the technique down and throw the discuses. And for a portion of that, I did go out and I was returning the discuses to them, just chucking them back. They'd chuck them to me and I'd throw them so that they'd be able to get them. Anyway, one of the kids, I don't know who, but I was not paying attention to them throwing. I was paying attention to the ground, and someone still threw one of the discuses, and all I heard is, "Oh no!" and then wham, the back of my head right here. Got hit by one of the discuses. And most of the people who were over there were 7th graders, so not like really big kids, you know, that are going to throw it. And they weren't trying to throw it hard anyway. They were more trying to throw it for technique and distance. But it still hurt. I mean, if you've ever seen a discus be thrown, I mean, it doesn't really matter how hard it's thrown. It's not something that you want to get hit with, specifically in the head. I'm really lucky it wasn't, you know, a 9th grader that threw it. I'm assuming. I really don't know who threw it, and I don't really care to know. I know it was an accident. You know, I have no. Well, I mean, I wish they wouldn't have done it, but no ill will against the student. I know it was an accident. And all that, but still. Anyway, so I go, oh man, you know, and I think I threw my hat on the ground, and I was just, you know, a hand back here, and I was like, guys, you got to make sure that if there's someone out there that they're paying attention. Man, I look at my hand and it's just covered in blood. I go, oh, yeah. Someone pick up the discuses and put them back. See you guys tomorrow. I just left practice and went in. My principal found me as I was trying to get my stuff together to go home. I didn't think it was that bad. He took a look at it and he was like, yeah, it's... Because I put quite a lot of pressure on it. He gave me some ice and went to find some other stuff. And anyway, we got it kind of cleaned up, and he looked at it and he says, yeah, it's stopped bleeding. So what he suggested to me, because he's a principal, you know, he's not a medical professional, he said, it's stopped bleeding for now. Why don't you go home and have your wife take a look at it. She's, you know, probably better at helping you make the decision whether you need to go into the hospital or whatnot. And so I'm like, okay. I wasn't feeling dizzy. Knew I didn't have a concussion. Any of that stuff. Went home. On the drive home, I had like a napkin in the glove compartment of my car. And I was like, I wonder if it's still not bleeding. And I put the napkin back there. Sure enough, it had started bleeding again. So I'm like, dang it. Drive home. Have my wife look at it. It's still bleeding. Like, man. And this whole time I was not in a ton of pain. I mean, it obviously didn't feel great, but I was more just kind of annoyed that it happened, that I wasn't paying better attention. Because the thing that I learned is, even if we go over safety protocols that work, because if I'm paying attention, I'm not going to get hit by a discus, right? They don't travel that fast, especially when they're throwing them the way that they were. I could easily get out of the way, even if they threw it right at me. What I learned from this is I need to treat it as if they're not going to listen to the instructions, because it did, it did happen, even though we just gone over safety protocols. So I was like, man, I need to change the way that we do that, because they're not going to listen. You know, even if we go over it, doesn't mean that they're going to follow those safety protocols. Anyway, just very annoyed. Anyway, neighbor of ours who's a nurse very kindly came over and took a look at it and said, yeah, you should probably go to the doctor and have them take a look at it. So I did. Late at night. As soon as we made that decision, I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and get a sub for tomorrow. Then I logged on to our substitute website, absence website, and got a substitute for the next day. Planned out a lesson, because I mean, you still have to plan out a lesson when you get a sub, you know, and got all that taken care of. Went in to the hospital right before it closed. You know, we're walking in half an hour before it closed at 8 o'clock or whatever. We're walking in at 7:30. Luckily, that same neighbor who took a look at my head was like, hey, you can drop your kids off here and just go in if you want, which was really, really appreciated. And anyway, we went in, got stitches. I took the day off today just to kind of make sure everything was okay, and it's been fine today. It's sore when you touch it, obviously, and whatnot, but 6 stitches later, we're doing pretty good. And all's well, you know, well enough, I guess. Not how I expected the season to start, but hopefully it was a very vivid lesson about safety. The other thing is, right before that, right before practice, I was talking about how I threw javelin when I was in high school, and we don't do that at our school. And I was like, well, the reason is, you know, I don't know if I trust 7th graders with a javelin, and now that idea is definitely solidified in my mind. Again, nothing against the 7th graders, but sometimes, you know, things happen like that. Anyway, that was a great shave. I didn't think that story was going to take the entire 3-pass shave. Looks like it did. Lovely cold feeling from the gel. One thing I like about synthetic coolants is, one, it's a more authentic cold sensation. I'm actually going to try to clear up my neck a little bit. It's more authentic cold, and it doesn't change the scent of the soap like menthol does. It's really nice. I like it. So anyway, I'll be back at it tomorrow, and hopefully people didn't get scared off. I'll still have some people to throw discus. we'll probably go over shot put tomorrow, and I doubt someone's gonna throw a shot put hard enough to hit somebody and hurt somebody. And hopefully people will take all of these safety procedures a lot more seriously. So we all learned some lessons, and hopefully you're better for it. Okay, so recap of the shave. We got Katie's Bubbles Saturday Morning, absolutely great scent, great performing soap. We have the prototype 3D wrapped razor from West Coast Shaving. Next, and there is, I don't think I mentioned, I've got my go-to Gillette 7 o'clock super sharp blades in there. Chill gel in with the soap, and then we have, just making sure my camera's still on, the lovely beautiful burl brush with the Fanturian knot from That Darn Rob. Love his coin, by the way. Like it. It's great with his logo on there. Yeah, absolutely great. So, how does this affect Craving Shaving? The business side of things. I'm going to be not making any brushes for at least the next 10 days while I have my stitches in, just because if you don't know much about, wood turning and stuff, when you're using a lathe, it's imperative that you have a face shield, and the one that I have rests right along the back of my head, right where my injury is. And so if I can't wear the face shield, I'm definitely not going to be turning any brushes, because safety first, right? If there's anything we've learned, it's safety first. So that's just all on hold. I do have some brushes still in my shop currently as the filming of this video is happening, including a couple of my used brushes. A couple of my used brushes that I'm just trying to clear out to make more room for other things in my brush den. So this one is currently for sale, I think, for 20 bucks. And this one is currently for sale this is with a hybrid badger and synthetic knot in it, and this is $30 on my Etsy page, so you can go check those out, as well as a whole bunch of other brush handles that are available. Just at least at the time of the filming of this video. Anyway, thanks again for tuning into this, and thank you for all of your nice well-wishing on Instagram. Appreciate that. And I am doing okay, even if it wasn't an ideal situation. I'm okay. We've learned some things. So thanks again, and hope you have a wonderful day.